but absolute intensity. ICE agents killed another person, unfortunately. Let's take a look.
An ICE agent shoots and kills a man in Biddeford. We have team coverage.
From the scene where multiple shots were fired at around 8 o'clock this morning.
To the protest and rally against ICE, with the community calling for answers and change.
Maine again in the national spotlight, and we're getting new details and responses.
Breaking news, a person is dead after that shooting involving federal ICE agents. Thank you for joining us. First at 4, I'm Megan Torgeson.
And I'm Kathleen Jordan. We know this happened at the intersection of Poole Street and Hill Street in Biddeford. Members of that community are still shaken up this afternoon. We want to get right to John Creasos, who is leading our coverage from Biddeford right now, where the community is set to gather for a vigil in just a few hours. John, what do we know at this point?
Kathleen, you mentioned that vigil now set for 7 o'clock, and learning just about an hour ago here this afternoon, the Maine Attorney General's office is now part of this investigation. And here at Mechanics Park, you can see the crowd gathering already, those protesters there on the street corner. They are demanding answers, holding signs, trying to understand how a reported immigration operation ended with a man dead just a few blocks away from where we are here. This incident putting Maine back in the national spotlight, and the conversation once again over immigration enforcement. You may remember in January, ICE agents spread out across Maine for that controversial Operation Catch of the Day. So here this afternoon, we have all angles covered. We do have that team coverage for you today. Nora Hogan tracking protests and the vigils in the community here at the park. Bonnie Bishop following local lawmaker reaction. But we will start with Ronnie Perillo here first at 4, who is on Poole Street, learning more details about the shooting. And so, Ronnie, that man not identified here yet this afternoon, but we are hearing from 2 immigrants' rights groups who are saying that he was a 26-year-old man from Colombia.
That's right, John. And now federal officials are on scene investigating the shooting that involved Immigrations and Customs Enforcement this morning. And the Maine Attorney General's office says it also is investigating today. This all happened shortly after 8 o'clock this morning, right here at the corner of Poole and Hill Streets in the city of Biddeford. Neighbors telling us they heard at least 4 gunshots ring out. The AG's office says an ICE agent was conducting a final order of removal on a man in the country illegally when a man who was driving a white Kia drove towards the officer and tried to flee. That's when officials say the officer fired at the driver and killed him. Now, we do know that Kia is registered to a Jonathan Ramirez of Biddeford. It's not clear right now if Ramirez was the driver of that vehicle at the time of the shooting. Now, we spoke with a neighbor today, shaken up by what happened just feet from the place that she calls home.
See a small white car being corralled by 2 men trying to stop it from losing control around the intersection. And
drove toward the officer and tried to flee is a narrative that doesn't make sense. And it's also what you hear from local news when the local news just places a higher order of emphasis on the official organs of the government and their press releases, even after the 700th time that ICE has lied. ICE has done this over and over again. This just happened. This just happened in Texas. There's also video footage of the event once again. It's horrifying. They not only shoot him and kill him, but they slam his lifeless body and his head into the concrete afterwards. 26-year-old man in Maine. His wife and child were in the car. He had the proper paperwork to work in the United States of America, for the record. They shot him. They slammed his head into the concrete, his lifeless body, and then they handcuffed his lifeless body. Angus King has come out and confirmed that the man shot and killed in Maine by ICE was not even the target of the warrant. Even if he was the target of a warrant, by the way, this is disproportionate use of force. This is completely unacceptable. Gestapo, abolish, punish. We have to We have to maintain law and order. As long as ICE exists, there is no law and order. It's that simple. How many murders a week do we have to get to before people start saying, okay, this is actually fucked up?
All of a sudden, all these plainclothes, vested men started running down the street, abandoning.
Classic. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Mark Wade Mullen has informed me that the Boston office of the DHS Inspector General has taken over the investigation in the Biddeford shooting in cooperation with the FBI. There you go. Another cover-up. There you go. Another fucking cover-up. Fuck you, Susan Collins. Ghouls. Absolute fucking ghouls. Hold on. I don't want to see this. This might be a... Update. New video shows ICE agents running alongside the car. The video does not show the agents in danger of being run over. Agents shot and killed the driver. Witnesses say they heard 4 shots. Not even mentioning the conditions of people once they are detained. Yes. Hassan, the video is already the lifeless body going in circles in the car. Oh, they had shot him by the time that the car was going in circles. Is that what you're saying? Wait, hold on. Oops. There's unfortunately the footage probably shows the body, so I don't want to show it. Anthony Emerson says, just a reminder that the state legislature passed a law prohibiting local police from working with ICE, but Janet Mills refused to sign it, so it won't go into effect until the end of this month. Yeah, his 3-year-old was in the car, and so was his wife. And they dragged his lifeless body out of the car and handcuffed the corpse. Yeah. Standard ICE procedure.
There are cars kind of everywhere with regular people behind them.
And John, like you said, we do know that the man involved, according to an immigrants' rights group, was a 26-year-old from Colombia, but that's all we know. Law enforcement not releasing any names right now. The AG's office also telling us this afternoon that Maine State Police, Saco Police, and Biddeford Police are all involved in this investigation. John?
Okay, Ronnie, thank you. You can probably hear those no ICE protesters behind me here this afternoon, and vehicles also driving by, beeping their horns, some in support, others screaming out the windows that the protesters should go home and not be here. So you hear those community members taking to the streets, calling for ICE to get out of Maine. That is the message here this afternoon. Nora Hogan, she is here as well with those protests all day. Nora, we've seen this crowd grow and evolve over the day. Still people, growing crowd here in Mechanics Parks. What are you hearing from where you are, and how have these protests kind of changed throughout the day?
I'm standing in Mechanics Park.
Yeah, John. Well, there are still people here in Mechanics Park, as you pointed out. They started gathering around 11 this morning, slowly growing. By noon, half the park was full of people lining the streets. They started marching up Main Street before gathering out in the street in front of Senator Susan Collins' office and then moving back here to continue their day. I briefly caught up with the police chief. Police officers have been stationed around the city directing traffic when necessary. The police chief tells me she's happy to report that protesters have remained peaceful. Today, those protesters are speaking up for their immigrant friends and neighbors here in Biddeford and calling for accountability from elected officials in the wake of this killing.
And I want our state to really take measures to ensure that everybody is safe, no matter who they are in this state. And until that happens, we can't say that this place is safe for all Mainers.
I spoke to him.
And coming up at 4:30, we'll actually take a look at why this site plays an important and interesting role in the history of Biddeford that bears a lot of relevance for protesters here today. For now, back to you, John.
Okay, Nora, thank you. We hear that beeping as well. Not sure if you can hear that at home, but that is a public works truck, which appears to be setting up some kind of barricades, some concrete barricades. So we'll keep you posted as we see more about what's happening over there as the night progresses. But at least 2 members of Maine's congressional delegation saying that body-worn cameras are needed in situations just like this one. But Senator Angus King telling us today that body cameras were not used during today's shooting. Bonnie Bishop is covering that part of the story here this afternoon. She joins us from the ICE detention facility in Scarborough. So, Bonnie, what are you hearing from them?
Well, John, Senator King says that he's worried that they weren't wearing body cameras today, saying that's something that they should have had on them from the start. Now, this all comes after Congress passed legislation funding DHS, ICE, and border protection through the end of President Trump's term just over a month ago. That $70 billion package includes funding for body-worn cameras. Congressman Jared Golden voted no on this, as well as Congresswoman Shelley Pingree. Senator King voted no, and Senator Susan Collins voted yes. Senator Collins is weighing in today, calling for a, quote, full and impartial investigation. Governor Janet Mills says situations like these are frightening, and we haven't heard from Golden just yet, but here is more from King.
Literally every single person that's like fake complaining right now is responsible for this happening, by the way. Like from Janet Mills refusing to sign into law, ICE's refusal, local police refusal cooperation with ICE, down to obviously Senator Susan Collins, who is pro-ICE. Every single one of these people is responsible. Monsters. All of them. Fucking monsters, dude.
In Pingree.
We've been told that body cameras would be widely distributed. The secretary told me that they're on order, that they have been distributed widely across the country, but not everywhere, and apparently not in Biddeford, Maine.
We had the catch of the day that went on in Maine, and people thought when they cleared out and we rounded up the 200 people who had been removed from our state that it was over. But we know through our office, because we have a steady stream of people coming into our office with concerns, that ICE is still operating in our state at a fairly high level.
And John, you touched on Operation Catch of the Day that happened earlier this year. I asked Senator King if that's what we're going to be seeing again in the near future. He told me that he would be following up on that question with DHS. Back to you.
Okay, Bonnie, thank you. So again, just to recap here, that vigil, the next big thing happening at 7 o'clock tonight. But again, those protests continuing now, expected to continue till at least then, as we do wait to learn more about what happened earlier today. And another theme here tonight calls for accountability, as this is now the second deadly ICE-involved shooting here in less than a week across the country. The other incident happening in Texas. We'll take a closer look at that coming up here at 4:30. For now, Megan and Kathleen, back to you.
I was drinking my coffee, and I heard a gunshot. I thought it was a backfire, and then I kept hearing them, and I thought it was a drive-by shooting. And so I get up and look out the window, and I see a small white car being corralled by 2 men, trying to stop it from losing control around the intersection. And all of a sudden, all these plainclothes, vested men started running down the street, abandoning their cars kind of everywhere with regular people behind them. And I didn't see him, the white car that's in front of his vehicle. He just came and slowly just wedged it closed. Like the car wasn't out of control that I saw. That's what I saw until EMS arrived pretty late, and the bus then pulled up to the side street there, and that's when they kind of shut everything down.
Learning what happened, what goes through your mind, especially living right where it happened, right in front of where it happened.
It shatters the illusion that Maine is safe. This is my home of 34 years. And with Lewiston happening, and you hear about the violence that happens everywhere else, and you're ignorant to think that it can't happen here. And it's really upsetting that, you don't think about it until it does happen here. I don't know what he did, but he didn't deserve to be executed in the street. I didn't hear anything until the gunshots, so I don't know anything other than that he's dead.
Did you see him laying in the street after the fact?
No, I didn't. The car pretty much effectively blocked it really well. But like it wasn't like a high-speed crash or anything. It just was like a gentle wedge, and then like men were walking up with, cases and stuff, and that's all I was able to see, fortunately.
Did you notice anything identifiable with the authorities that were involved here, whether it be DHS or ICE? Could you tell who they were with?
I saw the green vests and the yellow writing, but at the time it wasn't really like processing exactly who it was until there was a man here recording as well, who confirmed it was ICE. Like it definitely crossed my mind, but like when he said that, that's when it became like real.
That detail, understanding that this apparently was a deadly ICE shooting.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any reaction to that portion of this?
It's just hard because you know how ignorant people are, and how many people are going to say that this man deserved to die. So I guess that's what I'm struggling with the most, I guess, is, you read ignorantly online everything that is happening, and it's like you weren't there. You don't know what happened. So yeah, I guess.
Dude, I mean, think about the fact that this person just watched the state assassinate a neighbor in broad daylight in front of a 26-year-old, in front of his wife, in front of his 3-year-old child. And that already is traumatizing in and of itself. But on top of that, she is so inundated with like the Asmongold style commentary that she's literally like, one of the worst aspects of this, aside from the trauma, aside from the violence that we're experiencing, is that people normalize it. America is so fucked, dude. So completely fucked.
It's just like, I'm just sad to know that ignorance is still alive.
How do you feel knowing that ICE is in your community? And for someone who's never been to your community, can you kind of explain to us a little bit, what is Biddeford like?
Biddeford is a diamond in the rough. It is one of the last affordable places to live. Everywhere else is sky high. That's why I'm here. I don't know how long I'll be able to afford to live here. This is a safe space. I walk at all hours, in the morning, at night. I trust, my neighbors. I know the family next door. For someone who hasn't been here, like, it's just a small little Maine town. It's nothing different or scary. I don't know.
Do you have any indication of who this individual?
Well, I heard the pop, pop, pop sound, and I didn't know what it was because I thought it was fireworks and it didn't make any sense. So I went to the 3rd floor window that overlooks that street, and I could see a small sedan turned 90 degrees to the curb and an SUV like behind it, but kitty corner to it. He started coming down the street, again, driving, I don't know how. And then the SUV hit him again to try to, and then that's when he stopped. ICE agent got out, tried to open the door and had a difficult time, but eventually opened it and pulled the guy out. His face was bloody, his head was bloody. And I clearly heard the victim say, "I tried to stop." Clearly heard him say that. The ICE agent that shot him walked right in front of me. And of course, I was emotional, and I just let him have it. And he looked at me and he said he tried to run me over or something to that effect. I don't remember his exact words. There was another ICE agent with him that was trying to comfort him, and they walked away.
We're going to begin, though. I know you know this.
Once it's established that like one ICE agent can get away with claiming that they were in fear of their life because there was a potential like vehicular manslaughter incident, everyone else tries it. Susan Collins' office has had to have heavy police presence apparently because people are protesting outside her office.
You gonna arrest the criminal or you gonna arrest the people? Are you guys gonna go arrest the murderer down the fucking street? Are you gonna do your jobs?
No, we're not.
Is this private property? Yeah, is this private property? Is that a public forum?
Sleep at night.
Officer, you see-
Vote her out! Vote her out!
Arrest her and kill her!
Vote her out! Vote her out! Vote her out!
Anyway, this is what Troy Jackson's response was.
We just got the sad news that it looks like there's been yet another deadly shooting, and ICE was involved. This time, it was right in our backyard in Biddeford. My heart is with the people of Biddeford, the people of Maine. They need answers. We all need answers, and we deserve to know what happened here. So we're going to go down to be with the community in Biddeford at Mechanics Park at noon. If you're able to, please join us.
Yeah. David J. Beer says, looks like another racial profiling incident gone wrong. Second time in as many weeks that ICE agents have killed someone who they were not even targeting. If they were not important enough to seek out specifically, how could they be important enough to kill if they fled? Reliable witness, though. Mullen told him the man was the target of a deportation effort. Mullen later called King with new information he had received, a spokesman for the senator said. Yeah, I know Troy Jackson went to the rally in the morning or at 12 p.m. I mean, how can you see what's happening here and recognize it as anything but straightforward fascism? I don't understand. It's fascism abroad with what Israel is doing. It's fascism abroad with what we're doing in Iran. And it's fascism here at the domestic level with what ICE is doing. It's just like a perma-military occupation led by some of the dumbest individuals, some of the dumbest, most racist individuals who have no business running around with weapons, let alone, training those guns on people and shooting them and killing them. There's no accountability whatsoever. This is expected of them. And the federal government comes in and protects these fucking agents and protects this agency in its entirety because this is a part of the job. Make no mistake. This is very much a part of the job. This is very much a part of the expectations that ICE is supposed to be this violent, ruthless, racist paramilitary force that's completely unaccountable, that just goes around and targets random people that they declare on the spot are enemies of the state that deserve lethal intervention. And anytime this happens, local law enforcement wants to cover it. Local law enforcement obviously has jurisdiction to cover this murder, and yet the American government intervenes. The federal government kicks in and says, no, you can't touch it. You can't touch these people because it's their job. There is a little bit of honesty in that. The problem is their job is evil. Their job is to do this kind of violence. It's unacceptable. And we have to stop it. That's why it's obviously unbelievably important that you join these protest movements, you join ICE Watch in your communities. I don't know what else to say, man. ZBS News with gross headlines. What is this? A man who was ordered to leave the U.S. was shot and killed in the car. That's not even true.
After
No, they literally said it was the wrong guy. Now they're making up for it by saying, no, never mind. He was also, he is the target, actually.
an ICE officer fatally shot a Mexican migrant in Houston, with authorities later admitting that the victim was not being sought in an enforcement operation. CBS News immigration correspondent Camilo Montoya Galvez joins me now from New York. Camilo, what do we know?
Hi, Major. Notably, more than 9 hours after this latest fatal shooting involving an ICE officer, this time in Maine, the Department of Homeland Security has yet to issue a public comment or statement, and so we do not yet have the official accounting of what actually transpired this morning in Maine. As you know, this is the latest fatal shooting involving an ICE officer. We saw a fatal ICE-involved shooting in Houston, Texas last week, and that took the life of a Mexican immigrant who had no criminal record. In this case in Maine, we are told by local authorities that the person who died was a Colombian immigrant in his 20s. We do not know whether he was in the country with a deportation order or without permanent legal status. According to immigration advocates, as you underscored, he had work authorization that allowed him to work in the U.S. legally. The Department of Homeland Security has yet to comment on that. What we do know, according to the...
Oh, so he had a permanent work. Oh, so he had a work authorization. Why does it matter? It doesn't. But it makes it even worse. It's already completely unacceptable across the board. Even if he was illegal, it's still unacceptable. What are we doing? That's not the rules. Nobody said it's appropriate to just like go up and start fucking doming random brown people. And yes, they kill U.S. citizens as well. That's why we have to fucking put an end to this goddamn nonsense.
Office of the Maine Attorney General, which is also conducting its own investigation into this fatal shooting this morning, Major, is that according to ICE, the subject who was shot attempted to flee that operation in the direction of an officer, and that prompted the ICE officer to discharge his weapon. That is the accounting from the Office of the Maine Attorney General. We should also underscore that just like the incident last week, Major, in Houston, Senator Angus King, an independent, is saying that according to a conversation he had with Homeland Security Secretary Markwayne Mullin, none of the ICE agents were wearing body cams during this incident. That, of course, will raise a lot of questions about transparency and whether or not officials can actually and quickly determine what actually unfolded on the ground, Major.
We turn now to...
Good morning, I'm John.
No, we shouldn't wait for the facts. The facts are that they're doing things illegally. Protests are already gathering in Biddeford despite lack of details surrounding today's ICE-involved shooting.
The Maine Wire.
Hi.
Oh yeah, Maine Wire. Isn't this the fucking the outlet that was almost entirely dedicated until recently to Graham Plattner? Yeah, I'm fairly certain they designed this before the credible accusations, far before the credible accusations. This outlet was almost entirely dedicated to Graham Plattner, like reporting on Graham Plattner.
Nice to meet you. So, what do you got going on here?
This is for ICE to get out of our fucking city. They just shot and killed another innocent person for no reason, other than they're not white.
Did you have that sign already made up? Or?
Yes, I did. I went to No Kings 3, baby!
All right, so I'm a member of the media and I don't have any of the details. What details do you have?
Only based on what I've seen and just...
Dog, you saw someone get gunned down in the middle of the street by a fucking member of federal law enforcement. That's it. That's the details that you need to know. You fucking piglet. What are you talking about? There's a dead body. There's a 26-year-old who got murdered in broad daylight. That's an injustice no matter what. Okay? Like, there are very few circumstances where ICE just shoots someone and it's like it favors the ICE agent. Okay? Very few. Like, he had to have been straight up, like, armed, brandishing a weapon, trying to fucking kill cops or something, trying to kill children. I don't know. Like, not going to say there's no circumstances, but those circumstances are unbelievably rare. These guys make it seem like every time ICE shoots and kills someone, that's what's going on. It's crazy. That hasn't happened once yet. That hasn't happened once. Bro, there aren't circumstances where a civil issue should even include people with guns. No, I know. There are no circumstances where a civil issue should include people with guns. I'm saying, like, law enforcement in general have valid reasons to engage people with lethal action, but it's insanely rare. The point I'm making is there's no instance where ICE should have a weapon. It's a civil disobedience, is paperwork. Okay. That's all this is a paperwork violation. And this person had the paperwork. This person had the fucking permit. What a fucking disaster, man. We live in such a goddamn cruel. We live in such a cruel system.